The Plotcast podcast with the Potty Plotters.
Hello and welcome back to the Potty Plotters Plotcast podcast. This is season 2, episode 26, and I'm Julia. Who are you?
Well, I'm Elaine, and that sounded very professional, Julia.
Thank you very much. I've been practising.
Oh, have you?
No, not
Is
at
that
all.
your own work?
No.
Oh, right.
No, I thought we'd better up the game.
Episodes in.
80.
You've just done it.
80 episodes in and I get it right. Yay!
There's a first for everything.
Yeah.
Well, anyway.
Okay.
Was that it? Because you were about to put a full stop there, weren't you?
Yeah, well, I thought you might take over because you normally like
No,
to.
because I don't like to do this bit.
Okay.
I always get it wrong.
Okay, well, it's Gareth's turn, isn't it? Gareth, you need to remind people how they can get in contact with us, please.
So if you've got any questions that you'd like us to answer, life questions or growing questions. At the minute, life questions seem to be taking over because there's nothing growing.
No.
Then you can get in touch with us on Facebook, Instagram and X at Potty Plotters. You can go to TikTok at The Potty Plotters, email us naughtycorner at pottyplotters.uk or check out the website pottyplotters.uk. And if you'd like to support us to keep producing the Plotcast and keep us in tea, coffee, biscuits, cake, sandwiches, crisps. Well, you got there. We discovered you had them last time.
Yeah.
Then you can go to ko-fi.com, that's ko-fi.com/thepottyplotters, and leave us a tip and we'll love you forever. Because we're like that. We're nice people.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that was nicely done, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I've been practising as well.
Oh,
that's
right.
good.
Okay, everybody has then, haven't they?
Have you?
Me? No.
The Plotcast podcast with the Potty Plotters.
Let's talk about trees, fruit trees.
Well, the irony is that my husband, I allowed him, we've got some espalier pear trees at home.
Okay, yes.
And he's been pruning them.
Has he? Does he know what he's doing?
You
I
allowed it?
did allow him, yes, and he didn't fall down. Ladder is still intact, everything's fine.
Everything's
Does
still
he
in
know?
place.
Does he know what he's doing, Elaine?
He does actually.
Okay.
I don't like to admit that, but he
Okay.
does. And then went on to say, I think it's time you did the apple trees up the plot as well. I thought, oh, now then I've got a supervisor at home.
Yes, but he is
But is he
correct.
right?
He is
Yeah,
correct,
I
Elaine.
thought he was,
So
yeah.
in the summer, we can do some summer pruning of apples and pears.
Why do you want to do it now then, Julia? If you explain to folk.
So you do it now to create growth for, create spurs for next year that will then produce the fruit. So it's really
Okay.
important to take it back, and it also kind of keeps the tree in a shape that you want it to be in.
So what happens at this time of year, generally speaking, is that you've got like a small apple tree, for
yeah.
instance, and then you get shoots,
Yes,
for want of
yeah.
a better phrase.
This year's growth, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. And they grow to about 10 inches,
Yeah,
something
yeah.
like that. What should we do with that? Is that what you're saying we should take off?
Right. So first things with pruning is look for anything that's dead, damaged or diseased. They are the priorities to remove. If you do nothing else, get rid of them. Then you need to go to the new stem that is growing and you take it back almost about an inch of the new growth, and you'll be able to tell whether it's new growth from it goes from like a brown wood to then like a green wood that's quite flexible and bendy.
Yeah.
So you're just taking it back to about an inch of the new growth, and that will encourage the branch to create spurs, which is where most of your fruit will
will come
develop
next year.
from next year. Yeah.
So that's not hard really then,
No,
is it?
no, that's a very simple process with apples and pears. And like I say, you can do further pruning in the winter as well, but that actually encourages growth. Whereas in the summer months, you're restricting the growth, but you're also encouraging the tree to put on branches that will then produce these spurs for fruiting. Also in the summer, and it's really important, you only do this in the summer, you prune your stone fruit.
Now, when you say stoned fruit, let's go through some stoned fruit.
Okay.
Apricot.
Yes, that's a stone.
Plum.
Yes.
Damson.
Yes. Cherry.
Cherry. Hybrids of all.
Yes. So I've got a plumcot. Yes. Yeah.
What?
A
Plumcot. So it's a cross between a plum and an apricot.
Oh, okay.
Because I've got an apricot on my plot, and I do keep giving it one last chance, because some trees, believe it or not, can take years to start producing. And the problem with apricots, and it is a specific variety to be grown in this country, is they put on a blossom very early. So, have the flowers on where you pollinators should come in, pollinate them, and then that's what produces your fruit. However, what tends to happen is they put on the blossom and then we get a frost and then you lose them all.
It's almost guaranteed, isn't it?
So on the advice of Simon, and I don't know if you remember Simon, very early on in this season we
Episode
actually spoke to
3, I think.
Was it?
Yeah.
Keep talking. And,
so we spoke to Simon, and on his advice he said to me, have you thought about planting a cross? So it's a plum crossed with an apricot, so a plumcot. And he said the beauty of the plumcot is that it actually comes into blossom later, more in line with when plum trees come into blossom rather than the apricot. And hopefully that would produce something that I could then actually harvest. So in essence the fruit looks like a plum but tastes like an apricot.
That's
You've
weird.
never had any?
I've had one so far off it, but it was a very young tree that I had from him, and again, you're looking at probably 5 or 6 years before you're starting to get real productivity off a tree, which is why, me, I was horrified when we've been working on some plots and people want to take old established trees down, because I just think they take so long to become established and come into fruit that actually usually the problem is it just needs a good prune.
And people don't know how to look after them.
Exactly. People leave them.
They inherit them, don't they, Julia, though, as well? And then they get too big, and then it becomes actually a problem rather than something that they like to inherit.
Exactly. Whereas actually, if you know how to prune and you take it back, and if it's something that's really, really overgrown, don't do it all in 1 year, because if you do it all in 1 year, first of all, the tree is going to send out loads of water shoots, which are the thin, straight
ones.
Stems that come out, but also you won't get any cropping for a couple of years. So take it easy, and you take no more than about a third of the growth off every year until you've got it down to a tree that you can use and will produce a lot.
So for people who have got them at home and or on the allotments, it's perhaps about finding people who can help them and identify what the tree actually is and how to deal with them. That would be the best bet, wouldn't it?
So again, with the fruit trees, if you've got a new fruit tree, generally you don't have to do much in the first couple of years. You're looking at creating, unless you're going to train them into a specific shape, you're looking at trying to create 3 to 5 main branches that you're then going to send further shoots off from there, and just to get it into a shape. And if you're just growing like a standard tree, the ideal is to create something that's almost like a goblet. So think of a drinking vessel, so that there's plenty of airflow through the tree. But now is the time to be doing your stoned fruit as well.
And considering that the trees on the orchard have been underwater, November, they're doing really well with the fruit, aren't they? Which has surprised me.
And that's something that people will be a bit nervous about, especially with stoned fruit. Is one again that we're on the community plot that we're working on, absolutely loaded with fruit, loaded with plums, and of course we're telling you to prune it at this time. And yes, you are going to be pruning some of that fruit away. And whilst it seems like a terrible thing to do, because the branches are so laden with fruit, if you leave all that fruit to develop, it'll just snap the branch. So in some ways you're doing the tree a favour by cutting off the growth, and you're cutting off about 10 inches of growth of the main shoots that are coming off.
But in the long run, it's worth it.
Absolutely, And again, you go through the dead, damaged, diseased process, and also look at opening up the tree. So anything that looks like it's growing inwards into the tree, remove that.
So a fruit tree is it's an investment in time, really, isn't it?
It is. It's just like the asparagus. It's just like anything. It's about waiting. It's about patience, because nothing comes quickly when you're growing, fruit trees. Some trees will start producing after about 3 years, but you're not going to get heavy cropping plants after that time. And these ones that you see in the brochures, where they're just one stem and they've got about 50 fruits on them, I think there's a bit of artistic work gone on there. I don't know.
You heard it here first.
And if you want to listen to what Simon has to say, it is on episode 3 of this series.
Yeah, he knows more about pruning fruits than me.
He does.
Yeah.
We like Simon.
Yeah.
If you'd like to support the podcast, you can leave us a tip at ko-fi.com/thepottyplotters. That's ko-fi.com/thepottyplotters. And we'll love you forever.
Water. You've included water in this. Are you talking about capturing water?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that we've all been moaning about the amount of water that we've had. Isn't it funny, though, how many people still don't collect their own?
No.
Now, we've been doing work at different places, and some sites have running water from the different authorities, piped in.
Yeah.
And also, because we haven't got any, we have to collect all of ours.
Yes.
Now, I can honestly say that as soon as a water butt has been reduced to nothing, the next thing is we've had a deluge and it's blooming well full again.
Absolutely.
I wonder if they ought to everybody ought to be looking at doing what we do instead. I think that good allotmenting is all about collecting your own water.
Yeah.
I think it changes everything that we do. I think it creates a challenge for those of us who are growing, but also I think it's authentic the way that we grow stuff.
Yeah.
And we reserve and preserve our water systems. So I wonder how many people out there do collect their own water.
I think if it's being piped in and you're using the stuff that comes out your tap at home, I think it makes you a little bit lazy. Now, I'm not saying everybody can collect their water, because there are some sites out there, and some of you who are listening to this, and they won't even let you have any structures on. And if you're not even got anything to collect water off, it makes it very difficult.
I mean, how do those people cope? Because if they haven't got any structures and they haven't got any piped running water, what do they do? Bring it in from home?
I have no idea how people cope in that situation, because you need water, don't you? And I found it a little bit bizarre, but there are certain sites where they won't allow you to have any structures. We're incredibly lucky. We're allowed an 8x6 greenhouse and 8x6 shed. Many of us have actually got much bigger than that, because historically people were allowed to build different sized buildings on site. We've also got wells on site, so although we haven't got tap water, we've got the wells, and we really do make use of them, and I don't know, I think we've mentioned it before on air, but the best present I think that either of us have had for our allotments
Prosecco.
No, actually. Well, yeah, we do like a tool. We do like a power tool, and this is sort of power because it's battery powered, but we've both got pumps, haven't we, that we extract the water from the wells. Now, we used to have the hand pumps, which are brilliant, and one way that a lot of people on our site extract water from their wells. But I tell you what, that summer when it was about 40 degrees and we were pumping the hand pumps, and then we were having to go and water it, nearly killed us.
It was so hot, and it was such hard work. These are a far better investment, aren't they?
Goodness,
Are they expensive?
I think they work out about £160 with the battery, but then the battery is rechargeable, so you take it home, recharge it, bring it back. But it's been life-changing, and what surprised us is that we thought we'd only be able to pump from the well, maybe into a water butt next to it, but we actually use a hose pipe that can get from one end of my plot to the other, which is about, 30 metres maybe.
And it still keeps the pressure, doesn't it?
It still keeps the pressure. It's incredible. And it is... Well, it has made a big difference to us, but if you didn't have a well but you collected water and you've got them in water butts, you could just as easily drop your filter into there and do exactly the same from there. So
I'm just intrigued, that's all, as to how people do cope, and I suppose because we've had so much water, we've actually thought about it in more detail than ever before, because there's tons of the blooming stuff, or should I say gallons.
It is really good practice, and I think it's something that a lot of sites, we've got a disco going on in the background. Is that Jason Donovan, is it?
I think it might be Chesney Hawkes. He is the one and only after all.
Okay. Anyway.
We'll work through it.
Yeah. People
persevere.
Enjoy it. I do think associations or councils or whoever run your site should be actively encouraging people to collect water. So on our site, I know that the site shop actually lets people...
This is weird, isn't it? Because we don't let you sing, and we're letting...
He's doing some, isn't he?
Is it he or is it the support act? I can't tell who it is.
No idea. But anyway, in the shop, our allotment shop, they do sell guttering and connections and things, and I think that's really good because it's not everybody's got a car that they can bring things down in, and these things come in quite long lengths, so I think it's about making it easy for people to collect water.
Yeah. I just wondered, that was all. So if you are collecting your own water, or just tell us about what water system you've got either on your allotments or on your garden as well.
Contact the Potty Plotters anytime on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram at Potty Plotters, or email naughtycorner@pottyplotters.uk.
Crinkly leaves. Yeah. Now, why I've included that, Julia, is because at the bottom of my cucumber plant, I've got a couple of crinkly leaves, and they're quite dry.
Okay.
So, what should I do about it?
Well, I would just cut them off.
Right.
Because they're not going to get any better, are they?
What would have caused it?
Maybe they're just exhausted, like on a tomato plant. The ones towards the bottom start to turn a different colour and go yellow and then go brown, so maybe they're just exhausted. Is that it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Now then, about cucumbers, I know that you've taken a cutting off one.
Can I show you?
Yeah, go on then, go and fetch it. We've got music to keep us entertained while you do that. I don't know if I can sing the words though, because I don't know what it is actually, Gareth.
I don't know who it is. I've had a look and I can't tell from the headline acts
A headline act.
which one it actually is. It's very loud because, Mark Eden Park, which is where it's coming from, is what? Nearly a mile away.
3 fields away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God, I don't live next door.
I don't think anybody lives next door.
I hope not.
Anyway, Elaine,
Now
I'm
then,
going to
right,
reveal this
okay,
to you.
Woo-hoo.
So,
Julia, can I give you a round of applause?
thank you.
Good.
Thank you.
Right then, tell us all about
string
it.
No, it's a root. So, I saw...
Now, what have we got in front of us first? What is it?
We've got a little jar with water in.
Yes.
And then into that jar, I've taken the top of one of the cucumber runs. So
off the plant?
Yeah, off the growing. So I've taken the growing tip, and then I've taken about 2 inches of the stem.
Yeah.
And then I've just popped it into the water. And I saw this on an Instagrammy thing.
You've left a couple of leaves on, obviously.
Yeah,
okay.
And I saw this on an Instagrammy thing, and I thought, well, would that work?
Because I would have said no, it wouldn't.
Yeah.
It's a soft cutting,
Exactly. And the thing is that, we've had a really difficult year this year, and so we've been taking side shoots out of tomatoes as a backup so that we could grow more and more and more. And actually, I thought, well, what happens if the cucumbers go as well? Wonder if I could take a cutting off a cucumber because it's too late to set a seed. Voila.
I cannot believe that. Yeah, definitely. So picking it up now in front of me, you can actually see the root, and as Gareth said, is that a root?
Yeah.
Because the root itself is about 1 inch long.
Yeah. So
That's incredible. What are you going to do now then?
So I've kept it out of the direct sunlight. I've kept it in my shed, just out of the so it's been warm, but it's been out of the direct sunlight. I think I might leave it and see if there's a few more shoots emerge, and then I'm going to pot it and see if we can get a cucumber plant out.
That would be brilliant if you could, because then for some people who don't have success with their cucumbers, that's what they could do.
Absolutely.
So if you've got too many crinkly bottoms, that's what you're aiming for. Well done.
The Plotcast Podcast with the Potty Plotters.
Apparently you want to prove a point, Elaine. That's unusual.
Yeah, I know. That's me all over, isn't it? Well, the other week we went out to do a talk, actually.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't.
It was a talk, and then I invited us to
No.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you did it, Julia. You became me. You invited yourself to somebody's house and garden.
Yeah.
How rude. But anyway, it was a right good do, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
And we went over to Ashover. Ashover is a beautiful village in the north of our county, in the Peak District. Absolutely lovely, and literally a spit from Chatsworth. Now then, when we you invited ourselves there, we decided that we would take jam jars filled with flowers from our plots, did we not?
Yes, we did.
And then when we got there were loads of plants that were all there for sale as well. What did we do with the jam jars, Julia?
Did you throw them at the person that's performing at Mark Eden right now? Because that's what I'd be doing.
Oh, yeah.
No.
That would be such a waste.
What you did was you placed them next to the plants that were for sale. I actually took some plants for sale, but the NGS lady, the garden of the lady who was opening for the NGS, actually whipped them to one side and hid them straight away, which was rather, that was quite flattering, really.
Yeah.
So she's got them then?
She's got the plants. No one ever got to see them yet.
We've been talking about them, haven't we? They're the very tall anti-rhinos. Now, on top of that, so we'd got all of these jam jars, put them all down, and guess what went first? Was it the plants, or was it the jam jars full of flowers?
Can I have a guess?
Yeah.
I'm only going to need a jam jar full of flowers.
Yeah. Gareth, well done. And it was.
Proving a point there, Elaine.
I was, yes, because for those people out there who listen to us who want to raise money for their different causes, which are usually community-based, then what I'm going to say to you is repeat. Get your jam jars, clean them, put some string round the top, and then fill them full of flowers from off the plot, put them out for sale, filled with water, and they'll go.
Yeah.
And it's lovely that people give donations for things like that. You don't want them back. They're not vases, they're jam jars. So save them and use them. Hints and tips, we love them.
Hints and tips for shortcuts to success. The Potty Plotters Plotcast.
Elaine, it's August, and some people may be taking plots over.
Yeah.
And it's usually because at this time of year, because somebody's given it up or been evicted. So if you're taking a plot on at this time of year, what would you advise people to do?
Well, it's funny because I have done that as letting secretary, and I do advise people, but not everybody listens.
No.
So I am going to say it yet again. Don't be in a rush to gather anything in order that you can grow something. Forget it. This is your first year, so stop thinking about what you're going to do grow-wise. It's almost the end of the normal growing season. So what I'm going to say is just stay calm and get all the weeds up. Now then, start where you want to start and draw a plan. Draw a plan of what you intend to do. That's the main thing, because so many people get carried away with, I've got to clear this in 5 minutes. They come up, they do it in 3 weeks, they never come back again. The backs are killing them and they realise how much hard work's involved. This is a lifetime experience for you. It's not something that you're taking on for 5 minutes. This is going to be the rest of your life. So what I would do is draw what you've got. And I always say to people, it's like buying a new house. Just because somebody's left wallpaper on the walls doesn't mean to say you've got to live with it for the rest of your life. Just take your time and think about what you are wanting to do.
So should they be digging it over now? Or?
Well, I would, but I would draw my plan as to what I'm going to do. And then what I'm going to do is start and clear it. Now, it might be digging everything out, whatever it might be, if there's brambles, if there's weeds. But at this time of year, Julia, in August, most sites can't have bonfires.
No, and I was going to raise that with you and say it's really important that people check their site rules to see what it says about bonfires, about disposing of things, organic materials. The recommendation is usually that you either take the stuff away or compost it. Now, composting is, when you know what the rules are, is dead easy. But what you don't want to be doing is just shoving everything in a big pile and hoping it's all going to compost down.
Well,
if you shove some bramble cuttings into a compost heap, you're just feeding it and you're just encouraging it to grow. So understand what you're dealing with. That's really important. And understand how you can dispose of it, because again, some sites, ours, we are allowed to start burning at the end of September. So start clearing, creating a pile, but create a pile where you can cover it so that it's not sopping wet or anything.
I was going to say that's the difficulty, Julia, because if you start creating a pile, it sweats, and when it sweats, it starts to rot.
Yeah.
And the difficulty is then that it's just one big mushy mess.
Yeah.
So I would think very carefully about that. You can't cover it with plastic because that enhances the sweating. So I would think very carefully, and what I prefer to do whilst you do that, I like to stick them in bags, compost bags, etc., and take it home and put it in the brown or green bin and let the council take it away. Now, you do get through a lot. Now, here in Derby City, we can take as much as we like to the tip. We have to book an appointment, but nevertheless, that might be another way round. Fill the car full of the bags and get rid of it, but it will take some time. It's a gradual process, it's not a race.
I suppose in saying about getting things ready for a compost, I suppose I'm thinking about, a lot of people perhaps would put raised beds on previously and they've started to rot and everything. So I'd be putting wood aside to burn later on. But like you, I would be taking any weeds, any perennial weeds home, putting them in the brown bin and getting rid of them that way. But like you say, it's about looking at what you've got on there as well. Is it worth keeping? I remember the first plot I inherited, or I took on, there must have been 2 massive rows of red currants, which are fine, and I left them for a year in the hope that somebody would actually harvest them, but nobody came and harvested them, and I didn't want that many red currants, so in the end I took them out. But it's about understanding what is on your plot and what value it is to you as well.
And if you're in a rush and you get rid of everything, then it's too late, it's already gone. So I would advise just to take your time with the whole thing. But again, look at the rules, because it might well be that you have to do so much in so many months. We have a probation period here, don't we? 3 months. And you've got to have shown some signs of improvement to the plot.
Normally it's about a third of the plot or a quarter of the plot you've got to have under cultivation. Now, for me, cultivation isn't just about planting plants. Cultivation is about preparing the ground,
definitely.
And whether that's incorporating manure or whatever into it later on, that is still cultivation. It's understanding what you need to do at a certain time of the year.
But if you don't know, ask. But I always say as well that most people who want to ask a question, if they've got an allotment, don't ask me before you've read the rules.
No.
Because you usually find the answer in there.
Absolutely.
So do that then.
Okay.
The Plotcast Podcast with the Potty Plotters.
So anyway, last topic to discuss today, preparing for National Allotments Week, the 12th to the 14th of...
18th?
12th to the 18th of August. No, let's
get it right, girl. It's a whole week, Julia. 12th to the 14th is about 2 days.
What I was thinking was National Allotments Week. That's not the week that we've got to get naked, is it? We've done
that's
that
Naked Garden
right,
Day.
Okay,
that was when it was even cold.
That was
yeah.
We were
it was perishing.
Okay, so preparing. What are we preparing, Elaine? What are we doing?
What are we going to do? Because I'm intrigued as to what everybody is going to be talking about, but I thought it was perhaps our chance to ask people to send photos of their plots and their sites so that we can get a visual impact of what people do when they're listening to us. So let's find out where they actually are and have a photograph of them.
I'd also like it if they can. And I know that this could be confusing for some people because of the technology, but if they could send us a voice note on the email as well.
Oh, that's
describe it well.
Gareth?
Then we can do a look.
Helicopter's coming over now.
They're loving it today. Then we can do a little bit of a sound montage of...
It's Tom Jones. He's about to land.
It's a day early. It's tomorrow.
Oh, right. Okay.
It's probably Becky Hill, whoever she is.
Oh.
She's a young person.
Oh, okay.
I've never heard of it.
No.
But
so you do can send us mail thing.
If people can send us a voice note with their email and just describe how their year's gone, what problems they've had, and maybe if they've got a question as well, we can drop it in as well, and we can answer a few like that, just to get a few extra voices in, a bit like what we did last year where we went around and talked to people out the lot. Let's get some people from outside the area, and some of our international friends would be nice as well.
It would. And I tell you what, Gareth, let's talk about successes too, because we can talk about problems all day, every day. Let's talk about how people have been successful, because I tell you what, some of the flowers, not all, some of the flowers have loved this. The beetroot have loved it. We have got a lot of successes. It's just that I think generally everybody feels miserable. I'm miserable.
No, you're not.
I am. I want my tea.
What are you having?
Well, I've done a chicken curry actually. There's no veg in that, is there?
No.
Me.
You could have done good. You could have put stuff like butternut squash in it.
Sounding like my mother now.
I know. Sorry.
Let's start thinking then about what we're going to do for National Allotments Week. Let's get them up there.
So if you'd like to send us a voice note and a photo, then email them to naughtycorner@pottyplotters.uk. I don't think it'll work if you try and send it through the social medias,
because it doesn't like it too much. So if you can record on your phone a little voice note describing what you've been doing, if you've got a question, drop it onto the email as well, and we'll put some of those in on National Allotment Week.
That's good, isn't it? Give them a couple of weeks. I hope Gareth is actually going to be sorting these out, Julia, because you know what we're like.
Got a clue, haven't
I've been trying to sort out a QR code today, and somebody said, all you do is you hover over it and you press a button. Well, I tell you what, all I've done is take 67 photos. Okay. Goodbye for now.
Oh dear.
The Plotcast podcast with the Potty Plotters is an Amberland Media production.